Welcome back, guys. This is Rodrigo, founder with Asheville Real Estate News. And today we get to have an opportunity to just explore somebody's journey in real estate. And really, I think what a lot of people look for when they get into real estate is just the freedom and the flexibility that real estate can provide if you take all the right steps and you're patient about the journey. So we're going to explore that journey for somebody today. But before we get into that, as always, just want to say thank you to American IRA, who's our sponsors this show. They're our local IRA custodian here in Asheville. If you haven't taken a moment to check them out already, I would highly encourage you to do so. I'm joined by Amy Pfaffman. Did I get your name right?
You got it.
Yeah, I know I was practicing a couple of times off camera, and so glad to know I nailed it. So today, we were going to just talk about the story, right? And how, long process, adds up to like really amazing results.
Yeah.
So do you mind, before we even get into the real estate though, how'd you end up here in Nashville, and like a little bit about who you are and what you do now?
Actually, how I ended up in Asheville is very related to the real estate thing. I was living in the Bay Area, San Francisco, for 20 years and was really tired of the struggle. It was just financial struggle for years and years and years. And I knew if I cashed out of that real estate market, I could go pretty much anywhere I wanted. So I've got family in Birmingham, and Asheville looked like, within the Southeast, the most appealing city to be in. And so here I am, and I'm loving it.
Yeah, and how long ago was that transition?
Year and a half.
Okay, wow. So it's relatively recent then.
It is, and I'm really just now starting to feel like I live here and I'm part of the community. And part of that is your meetup, because I go every month, and I'm starting to see people I know, build some relationships.
Thanks for coming back.
Yeah,
no, it's we were with Nolan, we were talking about that. I was like, we got like a good core group of people now that are pretty consistent showing up, and that's been fun.
Yeah, like hearing us there every week, and it's great seeing familiar faces.
Yeah, always. Familiar faces always help. So you made the transition. So a year and a half ago, said, hey, I'm cashing out of here. So you knew you were sitting on a fair amount of equity in San Francisco.
Yes.
And you made the move. But how did you come to the realization to think about that? I mean, were you doing anything real estate related before that, or how did those numbers start coming together for you?
Yeah, actually I was. So when my father died in 2014, left me some money in an inherited IRA.
Oh, okay.
I knew I wanted to buy real estate. I had read Rich Dad Poor Dad like everyone else has years ago, and so I knew I wanted to do real estate. I bought paid for one of those web courses. And had a one-on-one session with the teacher. He told me I could not use my IRA to buy real estate. So I was really disappointed, kind of dead in the water. And then I accidentally texted this friend of mine I'd been out of touch with for like a year. He told me he was doing real estate, and that kind of got it reignited. I thought of another friend of mine in the Bay Area who I'd known from 20 years earlier, took him out to dinner, had him, tell me what he was doing. And he said, yeah, you absolutely can use your IRA.
Yeah.
So once I did that, got that money into a company that could let me do that, I bought 4 little houses in Atlanta. And that...
How long ago was that? Was that a year and a half ago too?
That was 3 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was, I started January of, 2016 is when I really started looking at real estate in Atlanta and actively doing that. So over the course of the next year and a half, I bought 6 houses in Atlanta. And seeing that income start to come in just totally ignited in me. I want life to be easier than it's been, and I need to keep doing this. I mean, it really got a fire in my belly about that.
The proof of concept just validated everything else.
Totally. Yeah.
And so I'm curious, year and a half, 3 years ago, isn't that much time that's passed, and yet, we're going to talk about the freedom component in a moment. But what were you doing beforehand? Like, you were in the Bay Area. Were you just doing 9 to 5, or what was the...
Yeah, I've had very little real employment in my whole career. Apparently I'm resistant to it, but I'm basically like a designer, marketer kind of person. So I've had a number of part-time jobs and independent contracts working for small businesses and that kind of thing.
Okay.
And I have a jewelry business. I forgot about that.
Well, I know maybe it was the first time we met. You had the little Monopoly house.
Yeah, right.
I thought that was really awesome, obviously.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, that's an easy thing to geek out about. But so you've done that, made the transition. You bought your first, you said 6 houses?
Yes.
Why, like, how did you go so fast? Did you just have the money and you just were like, I'm committed, I'm going all in, or?
Well, yeah, like once I moved that IRA money into the self-directed IRA, I wanted to, spend all of that. So I was able to buy 4 houses with that money.
Okay.
And then, still wanted more. And so, I'm not buying anything.
Right.
I'm like making sure the deals fit my numbers the way I want them to be. So with my own money, I bought house number 5.
Yeah.
And then when I sold the Bay Area house, I was able to buy house number 6.
Right. You said you made sure that the deals fit your numbers. How did you come up with your numbers, right? Because numbers are very, vary a lot by person or whoever's buying them,
Totally.
Some core things, but.
Totally. Well, the friend that I had accidentally texted in New York, I just, that was that December, and I just happened to already be headed to New York that January. And so I met up with him, and he drove me around, and he's got a clipboard with like numbers just like handwritten. And he goes, this isn't hard. And he was a cop. He didn't go to college. He's like, if I can do this, you can do this. It's not hard. And he showed me he's making like 30% on his houses. Yeah. I went, wow, that's incredible. So he, from the beginning, set the bar high. Now, I haven't exactly achieved the 30% thing, but I am certainly shooting for it, and I'm hitting about, at least for purchase price, I'm hitting 25 roughly.
Just on your return.
Right.
Okay.
When I look at purchase price versus rent.
Okay. Yeah, no, I mean, anything above 20 is, anything above 10 really is, typically pretty good, and it just gets more exciting from there. Yeah. So you had a couple of people just really help you nail down your numbers, so you knew what you were looking for. Right. And then when you got to Atlanta, you were looking for them, just like talk to real estate agents or, on the MLS, Zillow, like where were you buying or finding these houses? Yeah,
actually I started looking in the Bay Area because that class I took, web-based class I took, was saying you should look within like an hour and a half of where you live. Well, I live in the Bay Area, an hour and a half, guess what? Still expensive. Yeah. So I don't know what inspired me to look at Atlanta, but I just went on to Zillow just one day, like, oh my God, there's houses for 30, 40, 50 grand, seriously? Yeah. And I have a classmate and somebody I've known since I was like 2. She's a realtor in Atlanta. Looked up her number on the web, got her on the phone, like, hey, here's what I'm seeing on Zillow. Can you hook me up?
Yeah. She especially said, from Bay Area prices to $30,000, $50,000 house. You're like, yes, all day. Yeah. So, awesome. So how was that transition from going from, the struggle to the freedom? And what's that transition been like for you, and what's changed, or, how do you feel? Yeah. So the real transition happened when I sold that house. That was such a weight of big expenses every month. So when I got out here, in a way, it feels totally normal. Like I get up every day and I don't go, gosh, what am I going to do today? Like it doesn't feel like that at all. Like I have stuff to do. The days go by quickly, but I love the freedom. And I do need to remind myself sometimes when I'm on vacation or having lunch with a friend and I don't have to watch my watch, like, hey, this is a luxury that very few people have, especially I'm 50. Very few people age 50 have that kind of freedom. And when you're talking about the freedom, you don't have like a job, right? So you're you're self-sustained off of the moves you've made in real estate. Yes. 100% living on real estate. And that happened how long ago again? When I moved here a year and a half ago. So a year and a half ago. Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in the last year and a half since you've been, you hit that, the definition of financial freedom, which most people use is like your income, passive income supersedes whatever your standard outgoing costs are, right?
Right.
What's been the best part and what's been maybe the hardest?
Well, the hardest is I did a little counting my chickens before they hatched because I had that house number 6 I bought. Mm-hmm. I had somebody move out a few months after I got it, whole bunch of renovations, took a little while to get somebody in there. That house ate up all of the next year's rent. Yeah. So it's been a little bit of a bumpy road, to be totally honest. And I'm still, right now I have 3 vacancies. Mm-hmm. And actually I just bought these 2 houses in Birmingham. So those are 2 of the vacancies. Yeah. And I have one in Atlanta. So I'm still waiting to have full, everything rented and then feel even more financial freedom.
It takes, I don't know. I think we were talking about with Nolan and I think it's like not every month everything's full. It feels like as soon as you get everything full, it's like 1 month you're like, oh, good. And then the next month somebody moves out, their lease terminates. You have a huge repair thing comes up. It's like just as you were getting ready to get excited about the momentum, and like you said, it's
always
a lot of the things. The way we look at it, it's like, okay, well, it's a couple years down the road is the real benefit. It's not the first 3 years. It's like years 4, year 5, year 6.
Yeah, I guess I'm impatient. Thank you for that perspective. I guess I'm impatient, but I will say I was just in Birmingham. I bought these because Atlanta. I got great appreciation on the Atlanta houses very quickly. Too expensive now, though. Yeah, super. I'm happy out the appreciation I have. Mm-hmm. I'm happy I got in when I did. But because prices have gone up, I'm moving to Birmingham for my investment properties. Right. So I bought 2. One for $18,000, one for $22,000. Mm-hmm. So I was just there kind of overseeing the renovation. And I will say, I got up every morning, went in, checked with the contractor, go to Home Depot, come back again, meet with my realtor, meet with my property manager, blah, blah, blah. And by like 3, 4 o'clock, I go, wow, that was a really full day. Mm-hmm. But you know what? If this is my job, I freaking love it.
Yeah. No, that's what you want to say. If you're doing work, like you want to be excited about it. Yeah. How has it been doing all of these things away from where you live?
It's definitely
the remote component. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely harder, and I am still learning. I need to pay even closer attention than I am. Like really watch those numbers from the property manager as they come in. Really stay in close contact with them. Make sure that those vacancies are getting filled quickly. So yes, and I have bought in places that I can go to. I don't live there, but Atlanta is on the way to Birmingham from Asheville. And Birmingham's where my family is, so I'm already going there with some regularity. So I like that.
You have reasons to go there anyways.
I have reasons to go there, and I can get there in a car. So
that's nice.
I like that advantage.
So you've been doing the remote property management and renting, so about 3 years now, right?
Yes.
What's been, despite not being there, you said you've learned that you've had to manage your numbers and look closely. Is there something that happened or, any challenges around the numbers where you're like, oh, like if I would have been on top of this, XYZ wouldn't have happened?
Yes. Well, this vacancy I have now, he told me that she'd given notice. I thought the vacancy was going to start in December. And it was I think it was a couple of weeks ago. It was right around New Year's. I'm looking at the reports and stuff, and I see there was no rent in November. So I text the property manager. I'm like, there's no rent. Did she move out? Yeah. And at the end of October, he said, yeah. I'm like, damn, that's on me that I wasn't paying enough attention to know that when that vacancy happened and get that turnkey.
Yeah, put the pressure on them to get it going.
Exactly. And then another thing was I saw landscaping on there every 2 weeks, $50 or $100 for landscaping. I said, what is this? It's winter. Why do we need to be doing this? Please don't have them come ever again. So It's that kind of thing that if you're not watching.
And the small things add up.
Totally. Mm-hmm. And 1 month of rent, I think that's really significant. Mm-hmm. So if you're not paying attention, thousands can slip through your fingers.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What's been the best benefit of maybe not having the properties in the same town that you live?
Oh, well, I love that I'm not ever going to get a call from a tenant.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I'm not ever going to have to chase them down for rent. Not ever going to have to make appointments with people for showings and all of that. Off. Yeah, I like that buffer.
Mm-hmm. No, it can definitely be a very positive thing. When you were selecting the property management company, so you selected 2 different ones, I'm assuming, right?
Yes.
One for Atlanta. How was choosing the second one versus choosing the first one? Was it a different experience? Were you a lot harder on what you were looking for and asking, or?
Well, the first one I got just through, he was a referral from my realtor I've known my whole life. Mm-hmm. He's only charging 6%. He's a small,
Wow.
Yeah, so I thought that's a great deal because I knew industry standard was 10. And it's just him. He's got an office manager that lives in some other state far away. And he's got a handyman. And that's it, just a team of 3. Mm-hmm. So I like that he's lean and hands-on and that kind of thing. But I have my issues with him, things that I've been disappointed with. So the Birmingham property manager is another classmate.
Really?
Yeah.
How do you have classmates from everywhere?
Well, I grew up in Birmingham, and so the Atlanta one, she grew up in Birmingham and moved to Atlanta.
But New York and San Diego and...
Oh, the New York person I just met, on a vacation. Not a classmate,
Like, man, your class must have graduated and just been dispersed.
No. So the Birmingham property manager, he's a classmate. He's been a investor for 25 years in Birmingham. So I like that he knows that whole world. Mm-hmm. He knows what it takes. He knows how to do things.
Very much boots on the ground in that market.
Totally boots on the ground. Yeah. So I really like that. He's charging me 10%. Mm-hmm. So my perspective going in is you're charging 10. I'm expecting, you know, something a little bit higher. So it's really, I just learned how to, what I expect, what I want to expect, and communicate that early on.
Yeah. And sometimes that's tough, right? You think you know what you want, and then sometimes being able to explain it to somebody else, there can be a disconnect between those 2 things, lining up.
Well, I'll tell you right now.
Tell me.
Let's see. It's 12:37. Okay. Birmingham, it's 11:37. My contractor told me that the cleaner would be done in the first house there at noon.
Right.
So it's almost noon in Birmingham.
Haven't heard anything.
And I want my property manager in there within an hour taking pictures to post that.
Right. Yeah. Get that posted today.
So I really want that to happen. So I'm going to be on him about that, and we'll see if he delivers.
Fair enough. Well, have you had any major questions or hurdles that you've had to overcome, or are you overcoming in the moment? On this journey that you're man, this has been a consistent question, or what have been the pressure points?
I've learned a lot of stuff the hard way. Stuff about property managers and paying attention. Stuff about tenants. Making sure everyone's on the lease, making sure you have social security numbers so when they bail, you can track them down. Making sure, I bought a property that had a brand new tenant in it. So he had no history of paying rent. Guess what? That's my deadbeat tenant who we had to evict that cost me thousands of dollars. Yeah. So I've learned a lot of lessons like that the hard way.
Do you have an opinion on the whole concept of cash for keys? You've heard of it?
I've heard of it.
Different people, but in theory, instead of evicting somebody, you pay them to leave?
I've heard of it, and I hate rewarding someone for bad behavior, and yet from a strictly financial perspective, I think that might be a really good thing, and I look back on a couple of situations and wonder if...
That would not have been
that would have saved me money?
Yeah, I think often that's the route we typically go.
You do?
Yeah, I think so, because you're going to spend that amount in attorney fees easily,
In months of unpaid rent.
And you have a little bit more animosity between you and the tenant. And then the likelihood of your house or your property getting torn up, sometimes people are spiteful. And so they're just going to tear things up just to tear it up. And so sometimes all right, well, if you leave it in just as good or in better condition than what it is today, won't evict you, but you do have to be out. Give us the keys. Please leave. And here's a check or cash, whatever.
So you've done that, and that's worked for you?
Personally, I'm a big fan of it, yeah. But, okay. I mean, sometimes it's aggravating because, you're like, you're under my skin at this point. But it's the whole, you can't get too emotional because it is a numbers game. You got to, provide a good quality product. You're going to have a good business.
Yeah.
And how do you manage those decisions?
Yeah.
But so yeah, looking forward.
Yes.
That's been a crazy 3 years for you. A
yes.
lot's happened.
Yes.
What did the next 3 years hold?
I'm really excited about Birmingham. Mm-hmm. I was not only looking after fixing up these 2 houses, I was looking at new ones. Of course, and yeah. I'm loving the potential there. And I have a friend who just totally coincidentally, a friend from California, who wants to invest in Birmingham, and she's got a business partner who happened to be in town at the exact same time I was. So showed him what I've done. He's really fired up about it, so that feeds my enthusiasm. So I want to keep buying there, and I really feel like I'm a buy and hold person. I know there's a whole lot of other things that people do in real estate, but I'm really liking the buy and hold because with each acquisition, my income
goes up a little bit every month. Yeah,
goes up a little bit every month.
No, how important do you think that it's been for you to identify what you want to do and kind of just quote unquote stay in your lane and just go after it versus trying to do a lot of different strategies or different approaches at the same time?
One is it's just my comfort zone, honestly. I did the first one, I'm like, okay, that went okay. I think I can do this again. I need to do it again. And the more I do it, the easier it gets. Changing lanes into buying notes or flips or all those other things you can do just seems scary and risky and unfamiliar just because I haven't done it.
Right. But it is beautiful that real estate has a million different avenues with which to get involved, right? And
totally.
At the end of the day, that's hard to not get really excited about that.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I do want to start to do some new things. I want to start to look at seller financing. I think you and I maybe have talked about that. So a way to, for me to
leveraging up.
Keep acquiring.
Absolutely. Absolutely. No, well, Amy, thank you so much for sharing. I think it's always fun I know a lot of times when people, when I first got into real estate, the reason I got into it was finances and freedom and whatnot. But the vision that I was attached to was private airplanes and super fancy cars and the big mansions and all that, right? That's a very popular image that's sold. And I think that it's important to have that reminder that lifestyle is relative and not everybody wants that. And there's nothing wrong if that's what you're chasing. But for me, once I realized pretty quickly, I was those aren't the things I actually want. I just wanted what they represented, which is the freedom and the flexibility that you now have. And sometimes people, I think it's important to have that reminder that the freedom, it just is really relative per person based on what numbers make sense for you.
Totally.
And it doesn't require a ton of houses to have a major ripple effect.
Right.
So, because I don't know, you don't have to share, but you're somewhere in the neighborhood of 5 to 10 houses, right? So.
With Birmingham to 8, right?
Right. And so with 8 houses, it's changed your life in 3 years.
Totally.
Which also isn't a long time either. So.
Right.
Yeah. So I think it's a great reminder for everybody like us coming up behind you.
I don't know if you're coming up behind me, but
trying to keep chipping away at everything. But no, thank you for sharing your story very much so.
Yeah,
and
thank you.
Yeah, hopefully we'll have you on soon again. Can talk about something else.
Great.
And it'll be at our studio, so we'll find out. We'll see if we can get that ironed out.
Great.
2 weeks away. So
great. Looking forward to it.
All right, guys. Thanks so much for tuning in. This was episode number 80. And just again, such a good story. It's a great reminder to just hear the evolution of how everybody's journey is just different in real estate. So Thanks very much for tuning in. Hopefully, if you haven't come out next month, February the 6th, Wednesday, we have our meetup every first Wednesday of the month, and we'll hope to connect with you guys there in person. See you next week.